Okay, so let's do a unboxing on the MegaPi. So this is the box that it comes in. As you can see, it says made in China. And it's pretty unassuming box. Nothing on it at all. So if we open this up, inside you'll see carry case, which is always good. Stops me the case getting scratched when I've eventually done it. Then we've got the actual MegaPi case itself, which comes in a nice little Mega Drive box. Apologies, it's difficult to get it out when I've got the camera in here like this. So yeah, let's move that out of the way so we can see it properly. So yeah, that's the box it comes in. As you can see, all the way around it, you know, it's got the Mega Drive look, even on the back. So yeah, pretty spot on. That's the case. And then we've got a fan, and that will go over the CPU to stop it overheating. And then we've also got some heat sinks as well, so they'll have to go on as well. Now, one thing to bear in mind, guys, I have not done this before, so you know, it might not go according to plan straight away, because I am literally learning this as I'm doing it. So yeah, so that's the heat sinks. And then if we get our little MegaPi case back again, I want to be very careful not to damage this, because I would like to actually keep the box to this. I think it looks quite smart. Slide the insides out, which are not easy because the camera's in the way. Oh, this is really fiddly, this. Right, then we've got another unassuming box inside. A lot of boxes. Now, as I said in my pickup video, I got this off Amazon for $18.99. Basically, this is all that's in there, actually. It's nicely wrapped in a bit of this foam material. And there we have it. There's the thing itself. Now, as you can see here on the front, 2 USB ports. This part on the side, if I can get it to open. See, I thought that was spring loaded, obviously not. That's where the SD card goes in, see the slot. Then on the back, where the power leads, the micro USB plugs in, HDMI out, audio jack. There's another one here that you can pull the port out, and that's so you can, I think you can run an internet cable through that. I shouldn't need to because mine's Wi-Fi. Depends on what model you put in this, because this one does the 2B, I think, the 3 and the 3B. So mine's one of the 3, so I know it will go in here. On this bit here, if you slide this off, you've then got access to what will be another couple of USB ports, or at least it should be, if what I read is right. Because basically what's going to happen is the Pi, when it slots in here, the ports will line up with some of these, like the SD card slot here, and the ones on the front, there'll be little cables that you run inside that plug into the Pi, lead into this. So you're just effectively sort of stretching it across to the front of the console, so there should be cables inside. The other thing is, it's a nice little gizmo. We've got the on and off button and the reset button. Now, these will do exactly what they say they will. You install something called a safe shutdown. Basically, if you don't install that, if I was to flick it off, it could do damage to the console. So now I've checked and it should already be installed. So basically, this switch will work just like it did on the Mega Drive. You flick it off and it will go through the safe shutdown script and switch it off. Same difference with the reset, pushed out and it'll reset the system. But here's a little gizmo I really like. So as you can see, the volume, which you had on the Mega Drive, has got eject at the bottom. And the reason for that is because that happens. Basically, this is just a little area that you can put your spare SD cards in. So yeah, that's what it looks like. Quite smart, I think. Yeah, it definitely looks like the original. And obviously it looks like the Japanese version. If you've ever had a Japanese, you'll know that this bit was purple on the Japanese Mega Drive. So yeah, very nice. Now, the next part is the Raspberry Pi. Now, this is what I've got it sitting in at the moment, and it doesn't have a fan. It doesn't have heat sinks either, so it'll actually be much better off in the MegaPi than it is at the moment, because this thing's purely running on ventilation. And if you know anything about the Pi, they do run quite hot, so any advantage I can get really is worth it. So, and with this, if I just take this top off, you can see the top of the circuit board there. Now I will have to unscrew the bottom to get the board out, because it is literally just a board. If you look on the side here, this is your power, HDMI, audio. And on the front you've got an Ethernet port, 4 USBs, and basically on the back here is where the SD card slots in. Obviously, like I say, this will all line up inside. So it's just a case of me taking these little foams off the bottom, undoing the screws, taking it out, installing it into the MegaPi case. Which sounds simple, but I'm sure it won't be. After all, it's come from China. I doubt the instructions are brilliant, so we'll see. Right, I'm going to cut it there and then get on with it. Right, okay, so I've popped out the RetroPi, and basically it wasn't as hard as I thought. I thought I'd have to remove the foam feet and unscrew, but actually it's just literally clipped on. So I just pulled the back off, and it, you know, out come the circuit board. So yeah, easier than I actually expected. So yeah, now I'm going to do the heat sinks off camera, because like I say, I haven't done that before. I don't want to mess it up, and then I'll show you the installation of it going into the MegaPi. So I'll cut it here, do the heat sinks, and then we'll pick up afterwards. Right, one thing to add here, guys, like I said, you know, didn't expect the instructions to be great, but they are absolutely horrendous. They don't really tell you much. It doesn't tell you where to put the heat sinks, doesn't tell you where to put the fan, although I think I can figure it out, but it doesn't tell you a whole lot. You know, and this is the back. There's no writing really at all on this. So yeah, not very helpful, to be honest. So yeah. Hopefully when I've done this video, this will help some of you out if you plan on doing this. Because like I say, the instructions are terrible. They really don't help you out much. Okay, right. Let's get on with it. Right, okay, just to show you that the fan's installed. Quite fiddly to do. You have to get these little plugs on here on the ends. One's a minus and one's a plus, but they're very tiny. I at first couldn't see it. So yeah, and then I found, although it looks like the fan screws in, it actually doesn't. It clips in right here, because you haven't actually got enough screws in here to screw it down, even if you wanted to. So, but it's obvious it's not meant to. It literally just clips in, which is quite fiddly, because it might look big on camera, but it's really not. It's tiny. I mean, if I put my thumb there, you know, my thumb's over half the size of the fan, so that'll give you an idea. Not the easiest, but I got it in. Right, so now we move on to the actual Pi going in. Right, oh actually no, heat sinks. I haven't done the heat sinks. I'll do them, then we'll put the Pi in. Right, okay, heat sinks are on. So as you can see, I've put this over the main chip, smaller one here for the other chip. And then if you reverse it over on this side, you've got a little metal one. Now, the reason for this is because when this goes in, the Raspberry Pi is actually going to be upside down. So if you get it wrong and you put this one on, it's going to be too big on the top to actually screw the casing on, the top of the casing on. So there won't be enough clearance. So you have to get it the right way round, which the instructions do not tell you at all. I actually had to research this. Otherwise, I could have got it horribly wrong. And trust me, if you get these on, you won't get them off again. Well, not without a fight, anyway. So, yeah, so that's on. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hook the leads up, and I'll show you what I did afterwards, because it's going to be very fiddly to do it while I'm filming. So I'm going to put the Pi in, attach the leads, and then I'll talk you through what I did afterwards. Okay. Right, okay. So what I've done here, if you can see this, I'll hold it up to the camera, you can see a plug that's attached to them little spines on the back there. So I've had to plug that in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to screw this down. And the way this works is it only screws down with 2 screws. And the reason for that is because when you put the top of the case on, the other screws on the other side of this will be held by the same screws that hold the case together. So that's quite neat actually. It saves you having to put too many screws in. And then it's a case of attaching these two USBs here on the side here. But I'm going to do that off camera because every time I try and do it on camera, the camera's wobbling all over the place because the table's rocking. So I will screw this down, attach the USBs, and then we'll go from there. Right. Right, okay, so little thing to run through here. Right, so obviously as I said I was going to put 2 screws in, when you can see they're in. And I've put the 2 USBs in the end here. Now you're probably thinking what's happened to the other 2 USBs. Well, like we said, with this little corner bit that pops off, you can get to the other 2 from there. So you haven't lost any USBs. The other thing to note here is that when you're putting this down, it's quite difficult because the cable that plugs in on here that I showed you, it's quite stiff and it does give some resistance. So you've got to try and push it down without damaging the cable. So it all looks all right. Shouldn't be any problems. I don't think I've pinched it anywhere. So we should be fine. So yeah, now it's just a case of flicking the switches, which is something I need to show you. This is your safe shutdown, so you need to switch that to on if you're going to use it. Like I said, you have to download a script so that that will work. Mine should be already working. So, and then obviously if you're going to use the power button on it as well, you need to switch that into on as well. Right, so okay, now let's get the rest of the case on. I'll come back and show you what it looks like at the end. Okay guys, so as you can see, it's all assembled. Well, except one piece, and I'll show you that. So when you're screwing the back on, there's 6 screws. 3 along the top, 3 along the bottom. And obviously you can see this part's missing, right? Well, that's where the 6th screw goes, just in there. And while we've got that off, I can show you the other 2 USBs. I don't know if you can... Yeah, you might just be able to see them. And then right in the very far left corner is where the Ethernet cable plugs in, but you can't really see that very well. The light's not too good. So yeah, so all I need to do is put that clip on, and then I'm going to power it up and make sure it all works properly. Right, okay, so that's the unit down on the floor there, all hooked up. Just get a little close up. Now that cable is plugged in, the USB on the front is a hard drive which is sitting next to it. And then on the back we've obviously got the power lead and the HDMI. And if I just pan up to the TV and turn on my controller, just needs a sec. There we go, it works. So yeah, it's all working. Really happy with that. I will in a minute go to my final thoughts because I did have a couple of problems and I'll go through them at the very end. But before we do that, I just want to check that the safe shutdown works. So I'm just going to set the camera down. Right, let's have a go at this. See if it works. And the answer to that is no. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to play. Right, so it could be possible that the safe shutdown wasn't set up properly, so it's probably something I'm still going to have to install. Either that or I've damaged something, but I'll get to that in a sec. I'll do my final thoughts. Okay guys, so time to give me final thoughts. As you saw when I was doing the build, the instructions were atrocious. In fact, the way I found out to do it properly was actually by reading a couple of blogs and also watching a couple of YouTube videos, which is funny because that's obviously what I'm filming this for. So, but none of them seem to point out these issues, so I am going to point these out. For starters, there's a switch on the circuit board that says about switching on or off. What it doesn't tell you is to line that up with the power switch on the front of the Mega Drive or MegaPi, because if you don't, what'll happen is then the switch won't work when you've actually got it together. And I'm actually starting to wonder if I might have broke the switch. I don't know. I mean, it's not a massive issue if I have, because I can still shut it down from inside emulation station through the controller anyway, so I don't really need it. But yeah, that does seem to be an issue. The other thing is that there's a power light. Now, I thought that power light was meant to stay on all the time, which is in the centre, same as the Mega Drive. Doesn't seem to be on at the moment. It was on when I initially turned it on, but it doesn't seem to be on now. So that's interesting. Actually, thinking about it, the power switch must work, because I switched it on to begin with. I don't know, I'll check that in a sec. I'll get back to you on that. But the other thing was the SD card. When I initially screwed it together, obviously where it's new, it didn't seem to, it seemed like it was attached properly and married up, but it didn't. And when I went to put the SD card in, the SD card completely missed the slot on the Pi and actually went straight inside the console. So I had to take it apart again and get the SD card out. So in total, I've actually put it together and took it apart, I think 2 or 3 times now. So these are all little things to look out for. But yeah, I'm just going to check that power thing. I'm going to turn it all off, and then I'll see if it powers on from the switch, and I'll finish off with that. So see you in a sec. Right, okay, so I've checked the switch and there's nothing wrong with the switch. So basically, when I checked and it said that the safe shutdown had been installed, clearly it hadn't been installed properly. So it's something I'm going to have to look at. I'm obviously going to have to put that script in. It's nothing too major. I've got it jotted down, so I'll add that and then I'll be able to use the switch. It powers on from the switch, so I know it's not damaged. It just isn't shutting down from the switch. Luckily, I can do it from the controller anyway, so it's not a major biggie at this point, but eventually I'll put the script in, because it'll be a lot easier if you can just flick the switch off or hit the reset button and it will do it. But that's something for another day. I'll do that later on. So yeah, I know the video was a little bit chaotic, but it's good in a lot of ways, because if any of you guys decide to do this, you can now see the troubleshooting that I've had to do, and you can also see some of the issues with it. So if you was to plan on doing something similar to this, you would know what's going to cause you problems, what to watch out for, because obviously, like I say, whenever you do something like this, there's always an issue, and especially if you've got it from China and there's a language barrier, you basically get a piece of paper like I had with silly little pictures on and nothing explaining what you should be doing. I mean, them instructions were terrible. I mean, it told you where the Pi went, and I could tell that it went upside down. But other than that, it didn't really tell you anything else. The fan instructions weren't really too obvious. So, yeah, not great instructions at all. But obviously, like I say, if you was going to do something like this, you can now watch my video now and you'll know what you're doing. Yeah, it's a nice little device, actually. I quite like it. Yeah. And it, you know, it looks like one of my childhood consoles. You know, obviously my Commodore 64 was my first love, but very close to that was the Mega Drive. So I'm glad I've got that. It looks nice. Yeah, and as you can see, it's not massive either. It's tiny. So it's something that can sit on a desk and be quite comfortable. So yeah, hope that hasn't really put you off if you was considering doing a Pi, but as you can see, it works. So yeah, right, okay, well, I'm going to leave it there. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please like, share and subscribe, and hit the little notification bell so that you're made aware of our future videos and live streams. And until next time, take care, stay safe. Nerdy Geezer out.